At a conference in London, leaders from 70 countries agreed on a peace strategy that includes reconciliation with moderate Taliban fighters and more aid funding for Afghanistan. Joining the calls for a non-military solution to the Afghan conflict was Uzbek President Islam Karimov, whose position comes as something of a surprise.
They're one country that really could benefit from the international efforts to curb Taliban in Afghanistan because they have an Islamic fundamentalist problem of their own in their own borders.
Welcome to Dispatch. I'm Marla Dial. Uzbekistan's policies on the conflict in Afghanistan have always been complex as the geography of the Central Asian region and the Fergana Valley, a nurturing ground for Islamist militancies.
The presence of Islamist movements in Fergana Valley are very strong, always have been, and it has really been difficult for Uzbekistan to exert its control over this region. And also the ethnic linkages between Uzbekistan and Afghanistan do exist, and so it's easy for Islamist movements to find havens, if you will, in Afghanistan from which to then infiltrate Uzbekistan.
The U.S. invasion of Afghanistan in late 2001 was initially welcomed in Tashkent, which saw a foreign crackdown on Islamist militants as an opportunity to address its own problems with insurgents. But providing logistical support for U.S. and NATO troops also had a downside for Uzbekistan, as a former Soviet state.
In particular, what we've seen is that Russians have responded to U.S. presence, to past U.S. presence in Uzbekistan by opening bases of their own in the region, particularly Tajikistan. And this is worrisome for Uzbekistan because Uzbekistan actually has a very independent-minded foreign policy for a Central Asian state. Therefore, the Afghanistan war, by putting them into a focus as a potential U.S. ally, has really had detrimental effects geopolitically for the country.
By adding its voice to calls for the political and economic strengthening of Afghanistan, Uzbekistan will again find itself caught between two masters, trading its long-term interests for short-term expediency.
In the short term, it does make sense for Uzbekistan to call for a calming down of tensions in Afghanistan. This reduces the focus on Uzbekistan as a potential route for military operations into Afghanistan, and it also reduces a general sense of militancy in the region. However, in the long term, Afghanistan that is calm and is a safe haven for militants is a long-term threat for Uzbekistan because these militants could then relaunch their attacks against the government from Afghanistan into the Fergana Valley.